Duff here with the Cowgirl Channel of Canada. I am at the Run for a Million in Vegas. It is beautiful here. We've had a great weekend. I'm so excited to be here as always. Huge shout out to everybody. Thank you so much to the organization, to Amanda Bromley, her family, Taylor Sheridan. It's such a great feeling to be here at this event, and it's an annual event. So if you really enjoy reining, this is a place for you to be. But I'm here today, and I'm at the 4 Sixes Ranch booth, and these ladies have been so gracious to let us use this beautiful backdrop for our interview. And I am here with a beautiful woman who hails from Canada, Nicole Brown. Nicole, tell me a little bit about your upbringing and where you're from.
Well, I grew up in a very tiny town called Choiceland, 200 miles straight north of Regina, at the end of the road, on the fringe of lake and bush country and bug country.
Bug country.
Yep, there's a lot of bugs up there. And it's a very small little town, like 500 people. You know, we were pretty remote from the horse industry, but we had the local fairs and 4-H, and so
Nice.
I grew up through 4-H and the fairs, and got my first pony when I was 2.5, a little Shetland, and we named him Taxi because they had to lead me on him because I couldn't steer by myself. And then just did a procession of ponies, and then when I was probably 13 or 14, got my first like real horse, and it was a purebred Arabian, and there's this long-standing joke that I would get on and look at the length of their ears, and so that's how we bought one, as he had short enough ears.
Aww.
I think there was more to it than that, but anyways.
The fun things that we try to figure out as we grow up in this industry.
Exactly. So it was fun. That horse unfortunately passed away very early, but I replaced him with his full brother, who was a purebred Arabian gelding, and was very unbroke when we bought him, and he turned out to be amazing. He's kind of an icon in old school heritage classic circuit Saskatchewan history books, I guess. And then from there, I just had an interest in reining all along. I always did all around, you know, showmanship, horsemanship, trail, English, jumping, gymkhana, the whole 9 yards. We did
all
it all.
the stuff that actually makes us better reiners.
Yes. And I honestly, I wouldn't trade that at all. I think that all around beginning, kind of grassroots stuff, it's so valuable. And there's so many people think they come into the industry and they kind of don't have all that. It's you know, they've never rode an ex-chuckwagon pony that would run away in the field every single time you went out there. Yeah, it's like it's interesting. It's small town stuff, but it's the best stuff.
But like as you went through like your experiences, you started off really young, right, with a pony, and then 4-H and stuff like that. And I love that because I've had a couple of beautiful ladies on the show, and they have started out with that 4-H feeling, and it's the same kind of feeling that I feel that a lot of people get here with the NRHA and events that are reining and rein cow horse based. It's a very family kind of feeling. 4-H is like that, and it's the grassroots of it all, isn't it though, for us? I mean, because we get such a great feeling from that, going to the shows, going to local fairs, and being around our friends and seeing people succeed, and then we do it at this level. And so this is really kind of, so what brought you to this event here?
Well, I mean, if you like reining at all, you're going to probably end up here or watching it or something. But I guess I've been at every one because I work for Equine Oasis, which is a very large mobile tack retailer. And he does a lot of sponsorship work through reining, and we go to most of the major reining events. And so I've worked with that business for a couple of years, and I run the new saddle program, and then I travel to about 10 shows a year. So it kind of gets me in the door at all these great events. So
you have a lot of experience, though. Tell us a little bit about your education, your background, like some of the stuff that you've done up until you're starting off at like 2, 3, 4 years old, getting involved in this stuff. That must have put you on a different path in life, like as you went through, like educational wise and into your adulthood.
Yeah, so I couldn't see any reason to go to college. I just did not see how that would pertain to training horses. So I skipped college and I just went straight to real life. And I trained in Canada for a number of years. I lived in Alberta for about 9 years, and that's all I did was train horses and showed successfully up there. And I had a couple of significant clients up there who had the means to enable me to show in the U.S.
Nice.
And so that's a while ago now, but we made a mark every time we came down.
Nice.
And we had our few moments of fame in some magazines and some pretty cool things like that. And yeah, I've coached and shown to the world level a couple of times.
Nice.
I've competed at futurity and been an NRHA Derby and NRBC finalist, some things like that.
Wow, fantastic. And there's a lot of different events in Canada that we know for sure, and the NRHA is very actively involved in there, especially out west in Alberta and stuff like that. Growing up, would you say your family was supportive of your choice to be involved so deeply in the equine industry?
Yeah, so I think that's definitely started early on because they did provide me my first pony when I was 2.5, and then I started showing in 4-H when I was 4, and I think we called it Wee Pea, like it was younger than Pee Wee. It was like the very tiniest of children. And then we just didn't have a lot of access up there, and we didn't have, we weren't a wealthy family, so we couldn't, we stayed in our means, but I did get to go to some Vern Saperja clinics, like back in the day, and like one a year for 2 years or something. And that was really cool. And then when I was in grade 11, we went down to Moose Jaw because that was the closest reining show, like 5 hours away. And watched, and I kind of set my sights on Locke and Deb Deuce, who are still in High River, Alberta.
Nice.
And harassed them until they agreed that I could come over and bring some horses for a couple weeks. And I mean, that was a turning point between the kind of grassroots and the stepping towards the real reining kind of thing.
And kind of growing into the industry, or getting involved like in a very deeper level, right?
Yeah. And I had a horse out there, and I said to Locke one day, I brought hay, like feed my hay, and he said, well, don't you need it for Cardston? And back when Cardston used to have, a couple reining shows a year, it was like Cardston was like
nothing.
It was so far away, and I couldn't imagine showing in Cardston. And he's like, no, you should show in Cardston. So I saved up my hay bales, and we went to Cardston, and my horse, I do believe we won the limited open there, and then that started that fall. We showed all that fall, and he did very, very well. And that was my first kind of real year showing. I'd been to Moose Jaw a couple times, but that was straight out of there.
That definitely is a pivotal point for you that you can recall, like how that made you feel, like and that harassing, guys, that harassing is passion, right?
Persistence.
Like exactly. And so when you're thinking back on that, if you hadn't got up and got out of your comfort to go get that, you wouldn't be even sitting here talking to me today, because it takes you on a different path in life completely, right? So as you got past that and you evolved, went through some of your struggles, and where you are now, so tell us a little bit about what you're actively doing with horses now.
So right now is a funny spot for me. I've had a phenomenal show horse the last 2 years, about one of the best Western half Arabians in the whole nation. And unfortunately, things changed for his owner earlier this year, and we had to sell him, but he went to an amazing home. So right now, I don't even have any horses to ride. So the universe is not sending me horses to ride, which is a very strange place for me. But I'm marketing some young horses for some people that I'm ranch sitting for, and they're lovely little babies, and they're so much fun. Like, I like all of the young horse stuff, like when you teach them confidence and teach them like how to sort of process, and teach them not to be afraid and understand, it's good, just try it. And
it's so nice handling young
they're so fun. And I've never started a bazillion colts, but most of the horses I've been very successful with, I have started from the very beginning. And I just love it, the bringing them all the way through.
I caught a chuckling and laughing because I think something brought me in here, and it was kind of like, it was one of those feelings, and I'm like, so I just did an announcement about my new baby, and he's a metallic cat grandson, and he's beautiful, and I love him, and he is just such a great little character. He's just 2, and he's ready to start his career and everything else, and I think that's what brought us in here in the 4-6s, because I saw all this beautiful stuff here. We have metallic gray here behind us, and it's the curiosity that they have, the little ones, they're young, and when you get an experience to handle them for the first time, and it's you can always, when they get older and mature, you're like, I remember that guy when he was like this, and they have such a personality, right? Yeah, and it's so interesting. Like, they're so trainable. Like, for you kind of expect them to not be trainable because they're babies, but they're very smart, and they all have their personalities, and it's interesting just the different way they process situations. It's fun. The fillies to the colts, and all of it. It's very interesting. I know, and it's something that you build on, right? So like, the more younger horses that you handle, the more experience that you have, and you're like, your confidence as a person changes too as well, right?
Yeah, and I think there's actually a very interesting evolution that happens with horse trainers, and I'm not going to say this specifically, but just observing, like a lot of trainers kind of up and coming come in, and it's like they got all this stuff to prove, and then it's like you watch them for a while and they mature and they grow, and then it's like everything changes. And suddenly it's much more about the horse and what is actually best for the horse, and the like they start to understand like psychology so much more, and it's not, the horses are so much more sensitive than people kind of give them credit for, and I think maybe a lot more intelligent, and a lot of times respond from a lot less than what people enter the business kind of maybe their approach when they enter the business.
You just said something very special to me. So my philosophy in my horsemanship and what I teach, and I'm proud to say, is do less, say less, have less. You'll have more horse and you'll have more life. Yeah. And I think that's so important what you just said. And you know what? It does takes time to get it, doesn't it? It does. It's interesting, and I guess it's just like that maybe with life in general. Just the process of evolution and growth and what you learn and grow to understand, like about yourself and about the animals, and it's very, very interesting. And so right now your part of your journey is what you're doing with the horses, and where do you see yourself going from here? Do you see yourself going back into the ring competing? Yeah, I've always said I'm not done competing. I've never been done competing. I have some competition goals still, but when I do have a horse to ride and I take it out in public, like it's noticed. It's a nice horse. I like to say that they're wholesome, well-rounded horses. You know, they understand what being a horse is, which is a little lost in the performance horse world sometimes, but I think it's crucial. And they're happy, they're healthy, they're sane, they're sound, all that kind of thing. So I'm always very proud when I take one out. And I am a carded NRHA judge and an AQHA specialized judge, so I do judge a few shows every year, so I am looking forward to building that up a little bit more. Fantastic. And I enjoy going on the road. We're going to chat about that a little bit more off camera, because that's very interesting that you just brought that up. Yeah. And so when the right horse comes along, it'll come along. I'll bring it out. Yeah, absolutely. I agree in that 100%. That really does give us that great opportunity to like have these moments where it's like, well, things are not really where I want them to be right now, and that time changes so much. So what am I supposed to be learning right now? Because it's a little different than it has been, so there's a reason it's different, and I very, very much believe that. Nicole, when we're talking to our Canadian Cowgirls and we're talking for the show, one of the things that I really love to do is I love to ask somebody that's in your seat, a part of the show, to answer a really special question for me. And what would you tell somebody that's out there watching your interview and they're thinking, oh, you know what, I always wanted to compete in something, or I wanted to do this or do that. What would you say to that person? Something that you would use as like a motto of your life, of how you got to where you are now. What would you say to inspire that person? For somebody that wants to compete, I think it's really important to be open to learning. I think it can go a little bit both ways. It depends on your situation and how much you get to ride your own horse, but find somebody to help you. My situation was a little unique. I had mostly family support. I didn't have coach access like people really have now, but somebody that can help you, guide you along, and give you some pointers, and have you in a program is really good. And hopefully somebody that's open and you can communicate. If you want to take a clinic somewhere, you know, they can guide you to where you might want to go, and just find somebody that keeps the door open to you improving your knowledge base all the time. You know, like sometimes it's hard to find somebody who will allow you a little bit of freedom within their program. But I think as long as you always keep the dialogue open, it's very helpful. But learn and be curious, and all experiences teach you something, right? 100%. Entirely. And I know for sure, like as we're here at this event, and like how we happened upon each other, we just had somebody mutual that we were talking to, and I just love that you were so open about doing this interview with me, because it's so important for people to understand. I'm not just promoting Canadian women that have had successes, not that we all have had our own successes. Right. At every level, every gauge of everything that we're offering through the show, through this, what I want to do is I want people to know it's so accessible. the information's out there. So if someone wanted to reach out to you, they can reach out to you. I'm going to have your information in the link. So, you know, if someone wanted to call you and say, hey, Nicole, I saw your interview. I wanted to ask you a little bit about, you know, Arabians, or I want to ask you a little bit about 4-H. That information is what some people, and these young women need. They need somebody like what you just said, that can be a little bit open-minded and say, you know what, hey, I know this girl in such and such, and I'm from here, or I'm there, and if you wanted to do this or do that. And it's out there, guys. It's there. Like, we're here to help you, right?
Yeah, and just know that you can. Like, that's the big thing. Just be brave.
Yeah.
You know, like that. It's like, it's a little scary at first, but then like once you do something where you feel brave, like when I just kept calling Deuces, I'm like, hey, like I really want to come. And then it works out, and then it feels so good, and it helps build confidence. I grew up very, very shy, extremely shy, so I've had to really learn how to be brave. But it's fun. It's like, it's a little exhilarating, and just know, like, you just have to know. And the more times somebody's like, oh, you want to do whatever, I do, and I will.
Yeah, and that's great. Thank you so much for being a part of the show, being able to be open-minded, like I said, because there's someone out there, I hope, that'll see this interview and reach out to you. If not, the connections that we've had will network to something else, and it's kind of always just evolving. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Guys, if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about the show, you want to nominate somebody from Canada who's a Canadian cowgirl, not just with a cowgirl hat or a cowboy hat on, someone with cowgirl spirit, arts and entertainment. Their story, their journey is just as important as mine and as Nicole's. Reach out to us, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and thanks so much for watching. Thank you, that was awesome.